access, and you put it online and you make it digitally available so 100 people, 1 million people can access it at the same time. We do things to benefit our own students here in the US. But open means open. Right? There's a huge hunger in China, there's a huge hunger in India for engineering curriculum, for computer science, for these kinds of things. It may be that the only way to really drive change in education in the US is to open source what we do, feed that into some of our competitors, and then have this notion of national competitiveness drive change to catch up. Right? Okay, do you see where I'm coming from?
Yes,
The Secretary of Education had a commission on the future of higher ed, which I got to go testify to talk about openness. I gave a talk there, went over like a lead balloon. I got invited to come to China and talk at about 10 different universities to give that same talk. I got invited to Europe to give that same talk a number of times. Everybody outside the US gets the power of this, and they're hungry for it, and they're desperate for it, and we seem to be happy with the way things are working. And it may be that the best thing we can do to drive change is to be open, facilitate these things happening in other places, and then use that to drive change here.
To catch up. Carrie.
I have a dangerous idea. And the dangerous idea is that if we open up education, in this country in particular, it will fundamentally change access to knowledge, which will change the base of power. And I think that's one of the reasons we have to fight through bureaucracies, as Bobby said. Okay, to get the textbooks in, we can circumnavigate the adoption process. All right, that's one way. What Andrew's doing is empowering the students in high schools to take control so they can be connected, so they can get the knowledge that they need. But by keeping people disconnected, keeps them away from the knowledge, keeps them away from the power, keeps them away from the currency of the current century, which is information. So the dangerous idea is that if we open it, if the United States opens it, knowing, think about all we've heard in the past 48 hours, knowing what we know about the geopolitical landscape, knowing what we know about what's going on in the shift around the world, knowing that the world is flat. If we open this up, if the United States cracks that nut, what does that mean for us? Knowing that we're not giving our kids the skills that they're going to need to compete in the global marketplace. That is a fundamental change in power. And I think part of it, like someone said earlier on the conversation about faith, it's not about the veil, it's about the fear of what that represents.
I'm a little confused here because the Chinese are chasing us and they're sending their best and brightest to our universities to play a more open game that you think has got to get ahead of us before we'll be motivated to get our early education act together. Is that the...
Well, if you look at the uptake of these open education projects at universities, there are currently about 400 universities around the world that have open access projects like the one at MIT, the Open Courseware. Right. There's actually a formal consortium of those schools, and we all get together twice a year. There are about 10 of them in the United States.